Hi, my name's Sarah, and this is my van, Donna, and she's definitely beautiful from the inside out, so I'll take you inside and show you around. A contractor's van, so initially it had some shelving units and some lock boxes and really like crappy plywood floor down, and we stripped it all and took out the rest and started from scratch. My kitchen kind of starts over here. I've got this little fridge, has a nice little freezer compartment at the top too. That's pretty handy. This is my pantry, so it's a little bit chaotic sometimes, but got most of my food up in there. And then I love this oven, so I've baked everything from cheesecake to scones to fish, kind of roasted veggies. I guess that's a pretty unique feature to have in one of these little vans. Then I've got my little IKEA details, the spice rack, which you saw on the way in, and then I keep my pans and pots kind of down under here. When I have the surfboard, I've got to like tuck it up, pull it out. It's got all my baking sheets and stuff. And then in this cabinet over here I have my electrical, so I've got my inverter and my charge controller in there. And let's take a look. So it's just dishes. I don't know if you can even see in there. And then I have, so my sister was looking at this cabinet the other day, and it's kind of like every home needs a junk drawer, and I guess that's what this is for me. So it has nothing to do with the kitchen really, but under here I've got my water, so I've got 30 liters. I can see if I can pull this open. I've got 30 liters underneath here, and then I've got another 23 liters at the back that I'll use if I'm off grid for a little while. And then I've got gray water under there as well, so I just empty that out every couple of days. And it's an electric pump, so I've got the whole like pump and faucet in one go at an RV shop. Yeah. So I've got a little pull-out table here. That's this guy. I don't use it all that often, but we got summer clothing. Unfortunately, not time for that around here yet. And then I've got these little slide cupboards. So these were kind of designed with my laziness in mind. I wasn't going to set up my bed and take it down every day, so I wanted to be able to get in and out without kind of moving the bed out of the way. So I've got some warmer clothes on this side. And then back here I've just got wetsuits, that kind of thing, some extra towels. And then this is it's like pajamas. I've got some toiletries and whatnot on in this cupboard here. I absolutely love my fan, but it's awesome. Like, it's great for cooking. I feel like it draws out the moisture so quickly. I use it like when I'm boiling water, making a meal, that kind of thing. Otherwise, you notice like by the time you're done, the front even has just like water dripping all down the inside. Yeah. So anyone who has a van, I highly recommend it. So these are like my little blackout curtains. And I've gotten a little bit too lazy to put them away every day, so I just roll them down. But these are just like rare earth magnets in there, so they're just really strong little magnets, and they'll just like latch onto the outside. And if you do it properly, it does a pretty good job of keeping all of the light in or out. So I've got one of those for each of the like 4 windows, and then at the front just like a slide shut blackout curtain like the one back here. The bed folds up into a couch, so actually kind of slide out of the way here. This just pops up on top of the other side, and it's got magnets embedded in it, so it'll like snap onto that side, and then the mattress can be used as a little backrest. Yeah, I kind of designed it to have the walk-through, but with the surfboard being there, I usually don't bother changing it into a couch. Yeah, it seems like a lot of work, and with all of the bedding that I have, it just makes more sense to keep it as a bed. Staying warm in Canada, I have a little buddy heater, or a mystery heater little buddy, but I'm a little bit nervous to use it in the van, so I usually just like sleep underneath my duvet and my sleeping bag and have a little hot water bottle. Yeah. So I've got 1-inch XPS in the ceiling, 1.5-inch in the walls, and then 1/2 inch down on the floor underneath the subflooring. And then I use spray foam for the rest of it. So use spray foam to stick the XPS onto the walls, spray foam to fill the cracks. Yeah, and then the doors are like mineral wool insulation. Yeah. I've got a 320 watt solar system up on the roof. And then I've got the inverter for that in here, and same with the solar charge controller. And I have little LED lights. I don't know if this will show up very well, but they're on a little dimmer switch. That's super nice at night. There we go. And then I have the electric pump that runs off of it as well. And I have a little outlet in the corner there. So that's where I'll charge my laptop or camera batteries, that sort of thing. And I've got 460 amp hours of battery power underneath the bed. Alright, so this is one of the batteries under here, and it's hooked up to a little like switch for the inverter, so it's the main power shut-off switch. Fuse box over there, which I've meant to mount, but it's one of those things that, you know, get around to it eventually. And then those cables kind of lead through the storage compartment back to the second battery there. But this is the extra water that I carry around just if I'm kind of out of town for longer than 3 or 4 days. I've got an old lawn chair, which I haven't been using around here, surfboard, and then if you can see underneath, there's like quite a bit of storage under there as well. So that's my shoe cupboard. And then further down, it's just like camping essentials, that sort of thing. And yeah, just a little bit more storage here, some surf equipment. And I think that's about the inside of Donna. Why do I live in a van? Well, I kind of started out with a 4-wheel drive in Australia, so I was living in that for about 3 months. It had a little rooftop tent, and I went to a Van Life Diaries meetup in Byron Bay and met a bunch of people that had nicer setups than what I did at the time, and kind of got talking to them and realized that like with the right setup you can do it long term and you can live comfortably in a van. And I decided that, you know, I love to be on the road, I love to travel, and it would be really like nice to be able to pick up and go whenever in my home and have everything with me. Biggest benefits of living in a van? Well, I'm just realizing this now too, coming back to real life, but you don't have to worry about looking for a place to rent. I just did a 2-week course up island and I had a home with me, and that was really nice. And I think it's really good in such a van-friendly city. You can wake up kind of wherever you want to wake up. Another benefit is you can go see like friends and family without worrying that you're kind of intruding on their space or reliant on like staying with them for a long period of time. And you can be like in an urban setting if you're stealthy enough, but you can also be out in the middle of nowhere with all the comforts of home, like, you know, fresh baked cookies or whatever have you. Yeah. The biggest challenges that I've faced in van life, that's a tricky question. I guess it's a car and your home at the same time, so that's one of the first things that comes to mind when you need repairs done on your car. It's your home. So there was one time where I was stuck in California in Ventura for several days and waiting for my van to get fixed, kind of staying at not the most ideal location down there. I think there's just a lot of little things that people in homes take for granted. Like, you know, you've always got running water, whereas in a van you have to think about filling it up. But I feel like those little things that you have to think about, whether it be your propane, your water, like where you're gonna go to the bathroom, it's just like insignificant compared to the benefits that it offers. Yeah. I chose a cargo van because it was just a little bit more cost efficient for me. So if I would have bought a Sprinter van, I wouldn't have had the money at the time to do a nice conversion as well. So I would have been left with a bit of an empty shell of a van, and so I knew that I had to compromise somewhere, and that was where this van came in, and I've been super impressed with it. Like, it drives really nicely, like it handles better maybe than some of the high top vans out there. I've been able to take it like down onto beaches and on muddy roads, and it's a pretty awesome van, and I had the money to do the kind of conversion that I was hoping to have. Yeah.
What was
It's really rewarding to be a part of building out your own home. So before my uncle and I worked on the van, I didn't even know how to use like any power tools. So I learned a lot from it, and I wake up all of the time looking around, and it's pretty special to know that you understand like every component of it. You know where to look if something goes wrong with the electrical. You know how to like fix anything if it breaks, just because you put it all together from the very top. I think I've learned to live with a lot less than what I had before. I've kind of refocused my attention on what's important to me. So several years ago, I never could have seen myself condensing my life down into like a 50 square foot space. And I think that in doing that, and you know, whether it's like being alone and learning to be like independent in everything you do, or sharing the space with someone and learning how to communicate really well with another person, it teaches you a lot. And I think for me, that's what I've taken away from it. I've learned a lot more about myself as a person just living in a van. So minimalism was never really part of the goal. I guess it kind of just came with the nature of living in a van. I think that I'm still a bad minimalist. Like, I have way too much Tupperware, way too many clothes, but I've definitely realized that everything that I have still like stashed away I can do without, and I think that even what I have now, it's still a little bit beyond what some people would define as minimalism. But yeah, I guess it was the van that sort of forced me into that role. Yeah, of course I recommend this lifestyle. I mean, it's incredible. It comes with certain challenges, but you learn a lot about yourself. You meet incredible people on the road. The community is one of the main reasons that I absolutely love it and feel like it's a sustainable thing. I don't know if you have to be a specific type of person. I don't think that 4 years ago I was the right type of person to be living in a van. I think it just takes an open mind and being willing to like be flexible, be willing to adjust to different conditions, and more so than that, like to not expect consistency and a routine, and you know, for things to work out the way that you plan them to, because especially living this kind of lifestyle, like there's always unexpected like hiccups and challenges, and that's part of the fun of it all. So I think anyone can do it. Yeah, I think you just have to be willing to make little sacrifices here and there, but they're totally worth it. I think if someone's hoping to build a van, like look out for other people that have done it, go talk to them. Like, I think everyone that's built a van is happy to share that knowledge, and whether it be through Instagram or through walking up to someone's van in person, people are more than happy to say, hey, like this is how I installed this type of oven, or this is how I like installed these type of lights, and to give you kind of the insider knowledge on what to do and what order and maybe what to stay away from. So I think talk to people, and if you're hoping to live in a van, then yeah, well, it doesn't matter what kind of a van it is, I think, and what kind of a person you are. You just have to have like a different set of expectations for yourself and kind of adapt as you go along and learn what works for you. Misconceptions that people have about van life. Well, I get a lot of people saying like, oh, you don't look like you live in a van. So I think one big misconception is that we're all just like, you know, slumming it and like, you know, and have poor personal hygiene, etc. And I think that's so not true. You meet all kinds of people, and yeah, sometimes you're adventuring and you don't shower for a few weeks, but you're also able to, you know, still integrate into society like anyone else. Yeah, and I think another misconception is that everyone does it out of necessity. I think some people, they feel maybe a little bit sorry for you. They'll offer you a bed in their home, and actually I've turned that down so many times because this is home. Like, this is my space, and I feel just as comfortable like sleeping in my bed, maybe a little bit more comfortable sleeping in my own bed than sleeping in someone else's home. So I think you get people that feel just a little bit bad for you when you've made a choice and you really appreciate and enjoy the lifestyle. I think my personal philosophy on life has changed a lot since I've moved into the van. I used to be very focused on a routine and kind of like being very, very driven, and I think that a lot of my self-worth kind of came from how much did I accomplish and how much time, and I've had about a year and a half to just sit and ponder life and travel, and I think in that period of time I've learned how important it is to be able to take that step back and to essentially be doing a whole lot of nothing and still feel content and feel like you have self-worth, and you don't always need to know exactly where you're going in life to feel that way. So I think I've learned to be a lot more appreciative of the little things and just, you know, be comfortable with who I am as a person and know that like whatever I do in life doesn't necessarily define who I am. So I have an Instagram at the Vandwagon, so it's a little bit of a pun, you know, I hopped on the bandwagon of van life, and that's where I'm sharing my travel journey and where I have a lot of posts on when I first started building the van. Eventually the goal is to set up the rest of the website, so just a link to where you can plan a build, maybe looking for advice on installation, electrical, that kind of thing, and then also, you know, more insight into what exactly my uncle and I did on this particular van and the lessons that we learned from it, so a lot of what not to do. I think that if you feel like you would want to live this kind of lifestyle, don't let anyone tell you that, you know, it's not going to be for you, because it can be for anyone. And if you're like a solo female traveler, like, you don't have to be afraid. If you play it smart, you know kind of where you're going to be staying, you know the areas that you're going to be visiting. I've personally never felt like I've been in danger or threatened by anyone, and I think it's a pretty empowering thing to feel so independent, and that's been my experience with it, and to be able to get on the road when you like and still, like, you know, live in a town and work and feel comfortable, feel at home. I recommend it to anyone.